Greetings, everyone. Welcome to episode number 3 of Sam's Science Spotlight. I'm Miss Sam. I'm the children's librarian at the Eastlake Library, and today we are going to try an experiment called Creeping Ink, and it's featured in this book, The 101 Coolest Simple Science Experiments, and it is by Rachel Miller, Holly Homer, and Jamie Harrington. So what do you say we put on our thinking caps, gather the necessary materials, and let's go do some science! Woo! Science! Now here are the things you're going to need for this experiment. First thing is a cup. And I have a clear plastic cup. I think that would work best for this experiment so you can see through the water. See through the cup to the water. Next, you're going to need water. I just mentioned it, right? I put mine in a measuring cup just to make it easier to pour. You are also going to need 70% alcohol. Now, you're not going to use all of this. All you're going to use is actually a tablespoon's worth. So you're going to need a tablespoon measuring spoon. Also, you are going to need a coffee filter. If you don't have a coffee filter, maybe try a paper towel. That might work really well. I feel like toilet paper might fall apart easily in the water, so you probably want to avoid that. But a paper towel would suffice if you didn't have coffee filters at home, okay? You are also going to need a black marker. And you can feel free to experiment with all kinds of different markers, even different colors. But in this experiment that I'm going to show you, we're going to use black. And in this experiment, I'm going to use a Crayola marker because in my trials and errors with this experiment, I found that Crayola had the best success of showing up on camera. So I'm going to use this marker. So, and you're also going to need, optional, a rubber band. I found that it was a little more difficult for me to work with the rubber band here, so it's up to you whether you want to use one or not. I bet you can do it without. And you also need a coin, like a quarter. The quarter helps you to trace around it because you're going to trace a black circle around it. If you can freehand a circle, feel free to do that. But you're also going to be using this quarter as a weight to hold the coffee filter down, okay? You can also use marbles if you want, but you are going to need to draw a circle, or something similar to it. And also, it's always handy to have some paper towels on hand because I make a mess. I don't know about you, but yeah, we need some paper towels. So why don't we take a look and see what the instructions say, and then we'll modify. Now, I know you're probably thinking, what is this experiment all about? I don't understand. Well, this experiment called Creeping Ink is all about chromatography. And if you don't know what chromatography is, it is the separation of layers in a mixture. So, for example, what we're going to be doing is taking this black marker, and it has black ink inside of it, right? Well, guess what? That black ink isn't actually just black. It's made up of a number of different colors that all mix together to create what we see as black. So it's called chromatography when we separate the colors out of this mixture, okay? So we're going to see what happens. First thing that you need to do in this experiment is fill your cup with water until it's about an inch away from the top, okay? So that's the first thing I'm going to do until it's about an inch away from the top, just like that. And then I don't need the water anymore. Next thing you're going to do is take your measuring spoon and you're going to measure just 1 tablespoon of alcohol. So let me measure this alcohol. And you see it's dribbling all over the place. That's where the paper towels come in. Yay! I always clean up after my messes. What about you? I hope you do. So we'll put in that 1 tablespoon of alcohol, and then we can just set that aside because we don't need that anymore. And look at this. I already made a mess. I'm going to clean it up. All right. So now you have your cup with water with alcohol. Next, you are going to take your coffee filter, and you're going to take your quarter, and you're going to put the quarter in the middle of the coffee filter, and you're going to trace all the way around it, okay, with your black marker. Make a nice thick black line. Now my marker happens to be dying a little bit, so after I trace my quarter, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make it thicker by just going over that circle again and again, just a couple of times until I have a circle like that, okay? Now you do still need the quarter because the quarter is going to weigh this down. Now, do you notice that this circle looks black? As it should. It's a black marker. Well, what you're going to do now is you're going to set this on top of here. Now, the instructions in the book at this point tell you to put the quarter here on top, and you're going to push it down until it just touches the water, and then you're going to rubber band it. I had a lot of trouble getting that rubber band to go on there and hold it in the water at the same time. It seemed like whenever I put the rubber band on, it bounced up out of the water, and then it wasn't in the water anymore. So you need it to make contact with the surface of the water. All right. So I'm actually going to, well, I'll show you. Here's an example of what it should look like once you have the rubber band on. But like I said, I had a hard time getting that to stay touching the water. So I'm just going to push down with my finger. And I'm going to make sure that the coffee filter goes evenly too. I don't want it to... There we go. Now I'm going to try to angle this so you guys can see what I did. Can you see that it's just touching? Oh, maybe that's a good angle. It's just touching the water, and you can see the ink is already starting to separate. Okay, it's already starting to soak into the coffee filter. And so now all you have to do is just wait a few minutes and see what happens with the colors on this coffee filter. And then you'll be able to see what colors come out of black ink. So let's give it a few minutes and see what happens. So it's been a few minutes. Let's take a look at our experiment. You can already see, without my even taking it off, that there are some colors here. So let me take the quarter off, try to pick it up, and let me gently take this out of the water here. It's going to be drippy, but I've got to turn it so you guys can see it. Take a look at that. Look at all those colors. We've got some blues and pinks. Oh my goodness. That doesn't look like black, does it? No. The black ink that we saw in this marker is just an illusion. Yeah, it's actually made up of these colors. Really cool. And actually, earlier today, I did this experiment with the same marker, and once it dried, it looks like this. So this is going to dry to look like this. Take a look at this one. All the colors in there. We've got the pinks in the middle here, and then we've got the outer edge. You can see some blues and some greens, and I dare say I see a little bit of yellow in here, which makes sense because you know what? Green is not a color on its own. It's actually made up of blue and yellow, so it makes sense. So really cool stuff. And I tried this experiment also with another marker I found lying around, just some cheapy black marker, and I got a similar result from it. So what do you think of that? Black is just an illusion. It breaks down into its component colors when we add a little bit of alcohol to it and let it absorb into a coffee filter. So really neat chromatography experiment, I have to say. So what's happening in this experiment? Well, remember, with chromatography, it's about taking a mixture and separating it out into its component parts. What we're doing here is we're taking the mixture, which is black ink, and we're separating it out into its component colors. All of the colors that went into mixing up what we see as black, okay? And our result at the end of our chromatography experiment was this really neat pattern with the pinks on the inside, the blues on the outside. Seems to be consistent with another marker that I tried as well. Now, why is that? Why do you think these colors show up like this? Well, it's because the lighter particles of ink happen to be the blues and the greens. Lighter meaning they're light and they travel fast and they travel far. So as soon as you put it in the alcohol, those colors are the first ones to run away from the middle. The slower, heavier particles, the heavier pigments, are the reds. And those don't travel as far, so they tend to stay around this area. So the lightest, fastest are the blues and greens, and the slowest are the pinks. So, and that's why you get this beautiful pattern. Just like that. So, I encourage you guys to try this experiment as many times as you'd like. Try it with different markers. Try experimenting and seeing what happens if you add more alcohol to the water. What does that do to it? Does it make it work better? I don't know. I didn't try that part. You guys can try. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Again, this experiment about chromatography was included in this book, it's called Creeping Ink, and it's in this book, The 101 Coolest Simple Science Experiments. And you can find this book and so many more like it, I'm not even kidding, at the library. Feel free to come in and browse. Give us a call. Ask for things. Visit our website. You can even call about curbside service. We can bring things out to you if you would like. So we are here to help you. We're here to support you. Okay? So until next time, everybody, remember that you don't need to be a scientist to do science. You only have to be curious. Take care.